Hello everyone, welcome to the Archipelago live stream. I'm Liam, one of the preset developers here at Archipelago. So this is the first live stream we have done in quite a while. Really excited to get stuck into this one. I think the last live stream that I did was way back in January. So got a lot to cover, a lot to catch up on releases that we've had through Quest over those last few months. So I'll get into that in just a moment. But if you're tuning live, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I can see Daniel's on already. If you are tuned in live, do jump in the chat, say hello. Let me know where you tuned in from. I know we've had a lot of people join our Facebook group in those last few months, a lot of new people there. So it could be that this is your first live stream. If it is, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join the stream. Once you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, after about a minute or so, you can get into the chat and you can say hello. So do jump in there and chat away. We've got someone else tuning in from India. Welcome. Thank you so much. So yeah, a lot to cover, a lot of releases that we've had through Quest over those last few months. So just looking at the list here, we've got Quest 44 Aureus, that was released back in February. We've got Quest 45 Atelier, released in March. Quest 46 Camellia, released in April. And then the current month's Quest set, Quest 47 Frontier, which is available right now for Quest subscribers. Plus we have two tool sets that were released through Quest in that time period as well. So Quest Tools 10 Lens Emulations and Quest Tools 11 Diffusion filters. So there's a whole lot to go through. I'll be showcasing all of those preset collections in this live stream. I've got 10 wonderful images that I'll be editing with all of those different presets, walking through the sets, talking about what's included, how to use the tools, how to use the creative profiles, all that good stuff. So we'll be getting into that in this stream. We will, of course, be doing a giveaway. We always like to do that in the live chat. So if you are tuning in live, you are in with a chance of winning a free preset collection. All you need to do to be entered into that is just get in the chat, say hello, keep chatting away as we go through the stream, and we'll choose from the list of people there in the chat to win a free preset collection. We'll announce that at the end of the stream, so do stick around until the end. And if you have any questions, throw those in the chat. I'll try and answer those as I go through the stream if I can. I've also got Chris in the chat. There are probably a couple of other team members in the chat there as well who can also keep an eye on that and answer anything that I might miss as well. Twig and Vine's on, Brittany's on. Quest is looking good, thank you. Brittany said here, hello. Christopher's tuning in from Suffolk, welcome. So we've been busy bees. Obviously we've had all those Quest releases over those last few months, but one really exciting project that we've been working on over those last few months is LUTs for video. So it's the first time Archipelago are creating LUTs for video. Really, really excited. You might have seen the trailer video play before the live stream started. Or you might have seen one of our other kind of promotions of those LUTs. They are going to be released very, very soon. We currently have a beta version of those LUTs, giving you a little bit of a sneak peek of what's to come. That's available for free for Archipelago Society members, so you can get your hands on those, give them a test run, provide some feedback. That will help shape the product, help shape what those LUTs look like when they release. But Chris specifically has been working super hard on those LUTs, and we're very, very excited to get those launched soon. Really excited to be moving into the video space as well as making presets for still photography. So yeah, if you are a videographer, if you're a hybrid shooter who shoots both photo and video, or if you're someone that's thinking about dabbling in video, get excited because the LUTs are going to be absolutely incredible. We're so excited to get those in your hands, and they're launching very, very soon. We'll of course announce that through our newsletters, through our Facebook group, so you'll hear about that as soon as they're ready to launch, but they're coming very, very soon. They are imminent. Excited these edit videos are taking place again. Many thanks. That's from Danny. Thank you. Yeah, we haven't done one for a while. We kind of laid off doing them. I think the last one, like I said, was back in January. So we've not done one for a little while. So we thought we'll do a bit of a wrap up and we'll see what you kind of think of doing it in this format. So we could either continue to do it in this format every few months, do a little bit of a wrap up of the previous releases, or if you want to see them happen more frequently, every month, every other month, we could do that. So provide the feedback, let us know in the chat, in the comments, how frequently you want to see these live videos. Obviously, it all depends on attendance. It's nice seeing those names in there. We want to make sure that we're obviously creating these videos if people want to see them, so we can do them sort of less frequently, every few months, or we can do them a bit more frequently. So let us know what you think. We're saying my first was Frontier, and I'm so happy I found Quest. That's Brittany. Thank you so much. So you're jumping in just recently. That's very exciting. You've got a whole world to explore. Obviously, we have all of our archive as well. So if you are a Quest subscriber, you get access to purchase previously released sets. So some of the ones that I'll cover today are ones that we released previously. So those obviously were free for Quest members during the current month of that release, and then after that you can purchase them. So if you're just joining now, obviously you get your hands on Frontier, but if you would like the look of Camellia, Atelier, Aureus, or any of the others, you can purchase those in the archive store, so definitely go and check that out if you want to. Lauren said, welcome to the club. Yes, so glad we're doing this again. That's from Saren. Been a Quest member for quite a while, and these, what are we saying, Danny? I can't see the end of your comment. These are always helpful. Nice. Thank you so much. Love your lives. Awesome stuff. So yeah, like I said, just to recap, we are going to be doing a giveaway in the live chat. So if you tune in live, thank you for joining. Jump in the chat, say hello, keep chatting away as we go through. Towards the end of the stream, we'll announce a winner for a free preset collection. So that could be you. Keep chatting away. And yeah, you could get your hands on some free presets. All right, so let me switch over to my editing screen here. You can see the 10 images that I've selected for this live stream. So I'll edit 2 with each of those sets, and then I'll edit 1 with each of the for each of the tool sets as well, just to kind of give a little bit of an overview for each. As I go through the edits, you're going to see the photographer's name and their Instagram handle at the top left up here, along with the EXIF data. So if you're interested in any of that, you can find that at the top left as we go through the stream. So let's just dive in. Let's have a look at what it's saying. I'm already a big fan. I want to purchase them all. I'm hoping the archive store will be on sale during Black Friday, so I can purchase them all at once. We have got some great bundles actually on there. So if you are thinking about getting, a few different sets, we actually have some bundles on there. So you can pick up some sets grouped together at quite a big discount. So definitely worth checking out. Like Lauren said, we've done some epic Black Friday sales in the past, so you never know. Quest bundles are also a great way to get a bunch at once, like I said. All right, so let's get stuck in with the first set. So this image I'm going to be editing with Quest 44 Aureus. Like I said, this one came out back in February. And it's available in the archive store. So this one's all about golden tones and cinematic depth. The presets and the tools in this set utilize lens blur, which was a new feature at the time. It had just launched the lens blur feature in Lightroom, and this set takes advantage of that. So that's one of the things about Quest, is it gives us the ability, by releasing a new set every single month, to explore new tools as soon as they land. So lens blur landed, we brought this set out utilizing lens blur to try and kind of give you creative options and new ways to edit your images. So Quest 44 Aureus, golden tones and cinematic depth. So let's head down here and we'll take a look. So Archipelago Quest 44 Aureus. So I'm going to edit this image with it. Let's just start by tweaking the white balance and the exposure, and then we can go ahead and take a look at the presets. So I'm just going to cool this off just a little bit and add a little bit more magenta. It's looking good to me. And I think the exposure might need to drop just a little bit. So I'm going to come down to about there, but I might tweak that after I apply the preset. So let's take a look at the actual presets. So we have Aureus 1 through 3. So let's take a look at each of those first. So really, really nice transformation. You can see those warm tones coming through. It has a really earthy sort of vibe to this set. So that's Aureus 1, Aureus 2, and Aureus 3. So really harmonious. Obviously, they're quite subtle in terms of the differences, but they're really harmonious. Different images, you'll kind of see more differences between those particular presets, so it all depends. I think for this, I'm liking 3. I like the extra little bit of warmth that we're getting in there. So it's got a little bit of magenta hue running through it. I'm going to bring the exposure up just a little bit. So we have the Aureus creative profile. It's set to 100 as default. Brittany's jumped in saying, I really like that edit already. Nice one. So it's set to 100 as default, and this creative profile allows you to adapt the look of that particular preset. So if I bring it to the left and then bring it to the right, you can see how it injects more of that earthy, warm-toned kind of look to the image. So you can tweak this exactly how you like. If you want less of that, you can bring it down. If you want more of it, you can increase it. So I'm probably going to increase it just a little bit. I'm going to reset back to 100 and maybe bring it up just a bit, about there, 120. So let's take a look at the tools that are included. So like I say, these take advantage of the lens blur functionality that was introduced to Lightroom a few months back. So we have Aureum Evanescence, if I hover over this, and it'll take a second or so for it to preview this because it just needs to scan the image to work out the depth of field. So it's using that lens blur effect where it figures out the depth of the image, and using AI it can kind of blur parts of the image, so the background and the foreground, whilst keeping the subject nice and sharp. So you can see we get that kind of extra warmth pushed in there, but we also have the blur coming into the background. So this is without, and this is with. And then we have Aureum Lumen and Aureum Somnium. So I think I'm liking Somnium on this. It's got that really nice, rich orange, sort of brown undertone. So give that a click. Once you apply one of these tools, you can see up at the top left, the preset amount slider here. You can actually use that to increase or decrease that particular effect. So if I bring this to the left, you can decrease the effect. Bring it to the right, you can increase the effect. So that's adding more of that background blur. So you can see that happening in the background of the image. And it's also adding in that warm overtone and a little bit of a vignette there as well. So I'm going to increase it just a bit, maybe about 130 or so, 131. And if I go ahead and zoom in, you can see we've got a nice amount of grain that's applied as default with these presets, and that's actually being applied here in the masking panel. So you can see the grain there. But if you don't want to have grain, you have got the grain minus tool here, and that will simply disable that grain masking layer. So you can just give that a click to turn the grain off. Or alternatively, one other option you would have is go into the masking panel, select grain, and you can actually dial the amount of grain using the amount for that particular mask. So I could just bring it down a little bit, say to like 65, keep some of the grain in there, but just dial it back a little bit. So I'm really liking that for this image. We can also see the golden orb from Somnium is also applied to the image there as well. So that's coming in from the tool that we just applied. So let me show you that side by side. Really, really nice transformation there from the original image. We're getting that really nice magenta brown warm tone running through the image there. Obviously darkening down that background. We're blurring the background as well, so you can kind of see the depth of field around the subject. Does a really nice job of selecting the subject there and just blurring out that background. Super, super nice. Let's zoom out so you can see the full image. I've been looking forward to the live edits with this preset. Well, all of the recents, honestly. Nice. All right, again, before and after. That one is by Bogdan. You can see Bogdan's name and Instagram handle at the top left there. So again, just a reminder, if you want to check out any more of the photographer's work, you can go and check them out on Instagram. All right, so let's do another one with the Aureus set. So let's move on to this image here. Really, really nice photo. So I'm going to start just by straightening it up a little bit. Let's do an auto straighten just a tiny little bit. And we do need to set the white balance. I'm going to try an auto white balance. I think it'll do a pretty good job. Yeah, that looks good to me. Maybe a tiny little bit more magenta. Somewhere around about there. I'll bring the exposure up just a little bit and then we'll check out the presets. So let's audition these again. So we have Aureus 1. Really, really nice. Love that transformation. So you can see how it's muting the highlights in the sky there, kind of giving a really nice soft look to those highlights. It's lifting up the shadows and it's just injecting that nice brown tone throughout the image. Aureus 2, a little bit more kind of muted looking, less saturation in the colors, less of that brown running through the image. And then Aureus 3, a little bit more lifted in the shadows, a little bit more of that magenta tone. So you can see with this image, there's more of a dramatic difference between them. I'm really liking that harmonious toning that we're getting from Aureus 1. So I'm going to apply that first. And let's take a look at the creative profile. So bring it to the left, bring it to the right. So you can really drastically change the look of this image just by using that creative profile. All of our preset collections feature a creative profile. So if you haven't yet played around with that, maybe you downloaded the presets and you didn't realize that the creative profile was a thing. That can be quite common because not all preset collections that are out there on the market feature creative profiles. They're quite unique to Archipelago. So do make sure you check those out. Each preset collections, creative profile will do something different. So some of them will just adjust the kind of overall dynamics of the image. Some of them will inject certain type of coloring to the image. So they're all totally different. Really, really unique effects, and just allows you to get more creative with your editing without needing to dive into tone curves and all that kind of stuff. You can kind of keep the look of the preset, but very, very easily adapt it one way or the other. So in this case, adding more of that kind of warm tone and more of the muted look, which I really like. So again, I'm going to increase it probably about there, 124. I'm going to bring the exposure up just a little bit more, I think about there somewhere. Yeah, about there looks good. And we'll go ahead and check out the Aureus tools again. So Evanescence. Again, we'll give that a second for it to create the depth map. Aureus Lumen and Aureus Somnium. And I think for this, I'm going to go for Lumen. If we bring it all the way down to 0, all the way up to 200. Really like that. So you can see that blur coming in there. It's just kind of adding more of the kind of softness to the background, blooming the highlights a little bit there as well, and then adding in that extra punch in the warmth. So I'm going to go quite high, about 162. That looks really nice to me. Again, we'll zoom in. You can see the grain that's being applied as default. And again, you can just apply grain minus if you want to switch that off. So let's go ahead and turn that off just so you can kind of see this without. And I'll show you before and after. And there's a side-by-side there. So really, really nice warm toning running throughout this. And then that softness that we get, if you look over here where the background is, it just really draws the eye to the subject, does a really nice job of just kind of separating them from the background and giving that lovely soft blur. So as Lauren said, the Aureus set is both available in the archive, but it's also available in the public shop. So if you aren't a Quest subscriber and you are interested in some of the Quest presets, we do release them publicly after a period of time. So they're available exclusively to Quest members during the initial month. And then after that, we release them to the public shop. You do get a bigger discount when you purchase as a Quest member. So obviously being a Quest member is the best way, because you get a free preset collection every single month. You get a discount on the archive sets as well. But if you don't want to have that ongoing subscription, you can just buy these sets publicly via the public shop, which is linked in the chat there. Love the golden glow. Thank you, Lauren. So again, before and after. So that's those two images. Let's go ahead and take a look at those, both edited with Aureus, Quest 44, released back in February. Super, super nice. All right, so we're going to roll on to the next image here, or the next two images, and these ones I'm going to be editing with the next set, which is Quest 45 Atelier, released back in March. This one's all about bold yet natural look. It's designed with studio portraiture and editorial storytelling in mind, but it will work across a wide variety of images. But it's really, really special for portraits because of the tools that are included, which you'll see shortly. Lucilla says, I really love Aureus, super dreamy. Thank you so much. All right, so image number 3, got this beautiful image here. I'm going to close down Quest 44. We'll take a look at Quest 45 Atelier. So with this one, we have, again, 3 variation presets and then a whole bunch of different tools. And like I said, for portraiture, this one's absolutely fantastic. It obviously will work on other imagery as well, but it really comes to life with portraiture because of those tools that are included. So let's start by checking the exposure and the white balance, as we always should. And with this, I'm pretty happy with it. I think, if anything, I would maybe just boost the temperature a tiny little bit. But otherwise, I think it's looking pretty spot on. So we can go ahead and audition these. So Atelier 1, really nice. So like I said, it's a natural look. It's got that kind of bold look, but very, very natural. And this one's a nice balanced kind of neutral look. So again, without and with. And then we have Atelier 2. So a little bit cooler, a little bit more sort of pop in the greens there. The highlights are a little bit cooler, the midtones are a little bit cooler. So you kind of have a little bit of a cool leaning look. And then we have Atelier 3, which is an overall warm. So still very natural, but you can see there's that kind of warmth that runs throughout the image. So you kind of got 3 options, which is really, really nice. You've got something more neutral, something more cool, and something more warm. Now I would probably go I'll probably go neutral on this. So let's go for Atelier 1. And again, we've got the creative profile. So for Atelier, this one is set to 0 as default. Now I'm going to bring the exposure down just a tiny little bit. I think somewhere around about there looks good. And we can, of course, play around with the creative profile. So if you increase this, you can see how it shifts the dynamic of the image. So you can see how the shadows, the highlights, and the midtones are being affected by the creative profile. But I'm going to leave it at 0 for now because the tools themselves utilize the creative profile as well. So I'm going to leave those as they are. I'm going to use the tools to adjust the look. So if we take a look at those tools, first off, we have Enhance Skin, Enhance Features. So these two allow us to actually enhance those particular parts of a portrait image. So what I'm going to do is zoom into the subject here so we can see. And if we take a look at the kind of skin of this individual, the texture of that skin, what I'm going to go ahead and do is hover over Enhance Skin. And you can see how that softens it up. It reduces that texture in the skin, softens everything up, gives this really, really flattering look. So again, without and with, stays really natural, but it just gives that nice softness, blends the tones, reduces the texture. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that. And again, we've got the preset amount slider at the top left. So this is going to allow us to adjust the intensity of that. So bring it back down to 0. And if I bring it all the way up to 200, you can see we get that really kind of soft, glowy look to the skin. Really, really beautiful, really, really flattering, but still very, very natural. So I'm going to go for probably the default amount. So let's leave it at 100. It's kind of a nice balance between being quite subtle, but just giving a little bit more of a kind of flattering look to the texture of the skin. Then we have Enhance Features. So this is going to apply multiple different layers that enhance the features of the person within a portrait. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that first. So again, this is it at 100. If I bring it down to 0, and then up to 200, you can probably see what's happening. So if you look at the eyes of the individual here, if you look at the teeth, you can kind of see how that's adjusting the image. And I'm going to reset it back to 100 and we're going to jump into the masking panel so you can actually see then what's happening. So there's quite a lot happening with this particular one. So down here you can see we've got facial skin enhance and body skin enhance. So those were applied when I did the enhance skin tool. And now we have iris enhance, sclera enhance, eyes enhance, and teeth enhance. So that's all happening with this enhance features tool. So all those are happening at the same time, and I can increase or decrease that effect with one simple slider. So I'm going to go for a little bit of an increase just to brighten up the eyes, give a little bit more exposure and brightness to the teeth there as well. So we get that kind of really beautiful look to the portrait. So I'm going to close the masking panel. And then next up, we have several different options that emulate the look of different artificial light options. So we have parabolic softbox, we have lantern softbox, we have beauty dish, and then we have natural light. So natural light is the default. So you can see it says in brackets reset. So that's the default that's applied with the presets when you apply Atelier 1, 2, or 3. But then we can also adjust that. If I zoom back out and I'm going to hover over parabolic softbox, and you can see we get this really nice effect that emulates the look of a parabolic softbox. So if I go ahead and apply this, again, we can increase or decrease that effect. And this is using masks for both the subject and separately the background of the image to emulate the look of using that artificial light with a parabolic softbox. So very, very clever. I'm going to set that back to 100. And we'll go ahead and take a look at lantern softbox. So you can see a little bit brighter here, a little bit more uniform. This is down at 0, up at 200. Really, really pretty. And then we have beauty dish. This is one of my favorites. So this is down at 0, up at 200. So I'm going to use beauty dish on this, but I'm just going to add a little bit of it, maybe somewhere around about there, so about 80, 85 or so. So you kind of shape the light within the image, and this is why this set is so fantastic for portraiture, studio portraiture especially, but any type of portraiture, because you get to shape that light. Now, of course, if you want to, you can go to natural light, which resets back to the default, and that'll just disable those masking layers. But I really, really love the way that this works and shapes that light within the image. And you can see part of what's happening is the creative profile here is being adjusted. So each of those different types of softbox and beauty dish presets will adjust the creative profile as well as adding in these modifiers for the background and the subject. So very complex in the way that they're created, but really, really simple to use. One simple slider, click the preset, adjust the amount, and away you go. Very, very clever. And then the last thing we have in this set is just a simple lens correction. So if your camera doesn't automatically apply a lens correction when you import the images, you've got the option here to apply that. So with this image, it's already applied. You can see lens correction doesn't do anything, but just nice, simple option there. Save you having to go into the effects panel down here to apply it. So let's take a look at the before and after. I'll zoom in as well because it's so important to see how the features and the skin of the subject here have been adjusted. So this is before and this is after. That's with Atelier 1. I'm going to show the side-by-side here as well. Really, really pretty. And I'll zoom back out as well so you can see that side-by-side. Lee said, so darn good. Elsa said, I missed them so much. Thank you. Danny said, fantastic. Such a beautiful image. That's from Anne. So clever, hats off to the developers. Thank you, Chris. So this set was developed by our developer, Chris. The previous set that we took a look at, Aureus, that was developed by Richard. So we have 3 developers here in-house and we kind of alternate as we go through each of the sets. So yeah, fantastic set by Chris. Absolutely love this one. Emily is on as well. Welcome, Emily. Thank you for joining. Subtle and so good. Thank you so much. All right, so let's move on to another image. This one is by Venture Out. I'm also going to edit this one with Atelier as well. So let's start by setting the exposure and the white balance. And it's looking pretty good. I'm going to have a quick look at using the background here to set the white balance, and that looks a little bit better to me. So again, let's just audition these. I think the exposure is looking okay, but I might want to bring it down a little bit, but let's have a quick look first. So Atelier 1, give that a second for it to create the masking layers. Atelier 2. And Atelier 3. And I think I like 3 on this. That overall warm look, I think suits this subject really well. The kind of neutral background on this, I think looks super nice. So I'm going to bring the exposure up maybe just a little bit. I want to kind of get that looking really flattering. So somewhere around there looks good to me. Again, I could adjust the creative profile here if I wanted to shape this manually, but I'm going to take a look at the tools first. So let's do a little bit of enhance skin. And I'm going to zoom in on the subject again. Let's zoom out just a little bit so you can see there. So this is it set to 100, bring it down to 0, all the way up to 200. So I wouldn't go super high on this. I'm going to go for maybe about there. So 92, just bring it down just a little bit. We get that beautiful softness, just reducing some of the texture there and blending those tones. Let's have a look at enhance features. I think that's going to work quite nice on this because the eyes are a little bit dark. They're sort of slightly in shadow. So let's bring this down to 0, up to 200. And yeah, I think I'm going to use a decent amount of this, maybe up around about there. It's about 140 or so, just to bring the teeth up, bring the eyes up, bring some more definition there. Draw your eye to the subject's eye. Just going to tweak the exposure. I think that's looking good to me. And then let's take a look at the options for softbox and beauty dish. So parabolic softbox. Looks nice. Lantern softbox, that's looking good to me. And beauty dish. So I don't want to darken the background too much on this. So I'm probably going to go for the lantern softbox, which is going to give us, let me make sure I apply that. It's going to give us a little bit of a balanced look between the subject and the background. So down at 0, up at 200. I'm going to go for somewhere between the two, probably about there, about 80. And that doesn't darken the background down too much because I think the lighter background on this looks really good, but we're just bringing a little bit more emphasis on the subject. I'm going to bring the overall exposure down just a tiny touch, and that's looking super nice to me. Now this is probably an image that, yeah, benefits from having a lens correction. So you can see there, the lens corrections aren't applied as default in this particular image. So if that's the case, you can use the lens correction just to correct any distortion, any vignette that you might have. So this is before, this is after. Atelier 3. We've used the parabolic softbox, which obviously adjusts the creative profile here. So again, you can see this is now set to 101, and you can see how that particular element adjusts the image. And we've also done a quick little lens correction there as well. I'll show you the side by side. And let's zoom in so we can see the details of the skin and the eye on the subject there as well. Sweet Jesus, stunning portrait and edit. Thank you, Danny. Would love to see this image in black and white. Yes, I imagine this would be a lovely image in black and white. All right, so that's 2 preset collections down. Let's take a look at these 2 edits that we've done for Atelier. That's Quest 45. Again, that's available in the Quest archive. It's also available in the public shop as well. So we've got 2 edits there, one with Atelier 1 and one with Atelier 3. And we're going to roll on to the next image and the next set. So image number 5. And this one I'm going to be editing with Quest 46 Camellia. So this set came out in April. This one was developed by me. And this one's all about the kind of spring color palette, that kind of really nice pastel look and warm peach tones. So you're going to see that as we go through the presets included with this. So I'm going to bring the exposure up just a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit more warmth and a little bit more magenta here as well. Somewhere around about there is looking good to me. So let's audition these. Camellia 1, 2, and 3 variations. Let's take a look at those first. This is Camellia 1. You can see that lens corrections are actually included with the presets on this, and that's just because it's all about that kind of springy, very kind of clean, pastel-y, bright, light, colorful look. So by adding the lens correction in, it just helps to kind of lift the image up. So this is Camellia 1. Camellia 2, a little bit more natural looking, and Camellia 3, which is my favorite in the set. It's got a little bit more of a kind of punchy, contrasty look and a little bit more colorful. So I'm going to go for Camellia 3 on this. Really liking that transformation there already. Again, creative profile. So we have the Camellia profile. This is set to 100 as default. Bring it down to 0 and bring it up to 200. So you can see how that's lifting up the shadows, lifting up the blacks, but it's also adding a little bit of that kind of peach overtone to the image as well. So you can see this is a little bit more of a moody look. This is more of a lifted, light and airy look. So I'm going to bring this up quite high. Let's go for like 180 or so. And we'll take a look at the tools that are included. So the first tool we have here is Pastel Background. And this one's designed to select the background of the image and just shift the colors to be a little bit more of a pastel look. So it kind of reduces the saturation, lifts the luminance of those colors, and also makes it slightly cooler, which can help to deliver that pastel background look as well. So if I give that a click, bring it down to 0, bring it up to 200, I'm gonna go for somewhere between, probably leave it the default amount maybe of 100. Again, different images, you're going to see different kind of effects come from that particular look. So the next image, you might see that a little bit more obviously. And then we have 2 light leaks included with this set as well. So light leak 1 and light leak 2. So let's go ahead and take a look at light leak 1. This is using the masking layer to apply this light leak effect to the image. So I'm going to apply that there, and then light leak 2. Apply that there, and we can jump into the masking panel and we can select either of these two. So if I go for light leak 2 first, I can grab the little brush here and I can move this around anywhere in the image. So I'm going to bring this up to this area here, and we could also move light leak 1 if we wanted to. So I can bring this sort of a little bit higher in the frame as well, maybe about there. You can also adjust the amount, so you can increase or decrease that particular look as well. So I'm going to bring it up a little bit for light leak 1. So let's take a look at before and after. That's with Camellia 3. We've got the creative profile increased all the way up to 190. We've used a little bit of pastel background and both light leak 1 and light leak 2. And we've got this really beautiful results. This is the side-by-side comparison. And let's go ahead and zoom in so you can see the subject there in a little bit more detail. So there is a little bit of grain included with this. You're going to find that down in the effects panel. If you do want to turn the grain off, nice and simple, go in the effects panel, bring the amount down to 0, but it is quite a subtle grain, so it just adds a little bit of texture to the image. So I think it looks really, really nice with the default amount. So again, let's zoom back out and show you before and after. Is there a way to fix subject selections if Lightroom gets it wrong across all the masks, vignette, skin tones, etc.? There isn't a quick, easy way to fix it, so you can't sort of tell Lightroom that this is that particular subject and then it apply to all the masking layers. Unfortunately, The only way to do it at the moment is to go into each masking layer and use obviously the tools within there. So object selection tends to be one of the better ones to help you to remove certain things or add certain things, but there isn't a way, unfortunately, at the moment. Hopefully that does change if Adobe brings out some type of update, but at the moment you can't sort of say, no, this is actually the subject, and have that then apply across all masks. You do have to do it manually with each of the masks. It does a pretty good job most of the time. Obviously, AI is still a little bit in its infancy, so we should hopefully see that improve over time. It gets more intelligent and is able to identify subjects and backgrounds and all that kind of stuff better as you go. I liked number 3. Another fave, thank you. I see it's just a pain to do it manually every time and add something because it defaults the selection to whatever it was originally. Yeah, it is a little bit of a pain. Like you say, if you're using lots of tools that use kind of subject selection, for instance, and it's getting the subject wrong, it can be a pain. But thankfully, it does a pretty good job most of the time. It's only really in certain situations where you might come across that, and hopefully that will improve with time. The light leaks make the image. Thank you so much. I love light leaks and flare. Yes, me too. If you do like light leaks, Brittany, we actually have a light leak toolset. It's Quest Tools 8 XF light leaks. So that's a whole toolset full of different light leak options. So that might be one for you to check out in the archive if you want to see more of those. Laurie's on. I'm late, but I'm here. Thank you so much for joining, Laurie. It's great to have you here. Don't worry about being late. You can re-watch these live streams after they've finished. So once this stream is finished, you can go back and rewatch the beginning if you're only joining late. So yeah, don't worry about that. Emily said, Lightroom drives me nuts with the AI removal tool. Yeah, it can be frustrating sometimes, but you've just got to think, before that was an option, before AI was introduced, we had to do everything manually. So yes, it's frustrating if it doesn't get it right, but it's still way, way better having that option than, you know, the way we had to do it before with manual brushes and brushing everything in and out manually. It was an absolute nightmare. I hated it. Whereas now I can sort of click something, and if it gets it right, you know, 80% of the time, 90% of the time, for me, that's good. I'm happy with that. And if it gets better, great. Lauren said, right, we complain about all the advancements, but remember all the hand editing we used to have to do. Absolutely. Laurie said, so glad you are back. I am glad I'm back, actually. I'm really enjoying doing another live stream. It has been a while, so I'm a little bit rusty, but I'm enjoying being on here, getting to interact with you live in the chat. So thank you for joining. Emily said, I also hate Photoshop. Yeah, thankfully, I really rarely need to use Photoshop these days, which just goes to show just how far we've come. Used to have to use Photoshop like really, really frequently, but now you can do so much in Lightroom that you wouldn't have been able to do previously, that I very rarely ever need to take anything to Photoshop, which is fantastic. So it does show how far we've come, but yes, of course, we always want more. So yeah, I'm with you with that. All right, so enough waffle. Let's move on to the next image. This one's by Foggy Stories. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick straighten on this, and we'll edit this one with one of the Camellia presets as well. I'm going to bring the exposure up. I'm going to add a little bit more warmth to this, and yeah, I think somewhere around about there is looking good. Let's take a look at each of the presets. So Camellia 1, really beautiful transformation. You can see obviously here, this is benefiting from the lens correction. We're getting that vignette removed. We're getting kind of the distortion taken out as well. This is Camellia 2. And Camellia 3, I would probably go for Camellia 3 again on this one, but that's because it's my favorite. But I'm gonna go for Camellia 1, just so we can kind of see a different preset in this collection. So this is the creative profile down at 0, which gives us that kind of more contrasty, a little bit more moody, but still kind of retains all of that springy color. Or we can add more of that peachy punch in there, bring up the shadows and the blacks, and just give us that really nice light edit. And I think that looks great for this. So I'm going to bring that up probably, let's just crank it. Let's go up to 200. I'm going to bring the overall exposure down a little bit to compensate. What's really nice with Camellia 1 is it has a little bit more of a filmic look to it, the way that the shadows render. If we compare that to Camellia 3, more contrasty Camellia 2, more natural Camellia 1 has a little bit more of that kind of filmy look in the shadows, which I really, really like. So it looks super nice. So that's with Camellia 1, creative profile cranked up to 200. Let's take a look at pastel background on this one. You can see there's a bigger transformation with this image. So this is 100, down at 0, up at 200. So really lifts up the kind of highlights, gives that nice softness to it. And you can see if we take a look at the greens here, they're very natural at the moment. And if I increase it, you can see they shift across to being, lifting the luminance up, reducing the saturation, shifts to being a little bit cooler there. So it gives us that kind of really nice pastel look to the background of the image. So I'm going to crank that, I'm going to go up to 200. And I probably won't use a light leak on this, but let's just have a quick look. Light leak 1, light leak 2. 2 is very subtle, but yeah, you could definitely go for light leak 1 on this. And again, you can move these around, so just give it a click, grab the brush, move it to wherever you want in the image, so you can position it up near the top, down at the bottom, wherever you want. So you could go for something like this and maybe increase it up so you kind of get that dramatic look. Or you could position it up off the top of the frame. I quite like it down there actually, so I might... one thing you can do as well is if you shrink the image down, so if I just zoom out like this, then you can actually drag it off the side of the frame and just have a little bit of it poking in. So I could go for something like that and then increase the amount so we kind of get a little bit of a subtle light leak coming in the bottom there. Again, let's zoom in so you can kind of see the details. Here's before, here's after. Love the reds, how it's rendering those reds, but also the greens in the background. I'll show you the side by side there as well. Danielle said, I can't wait to see the diffusion filters. I would love to see it on my own images. So happy I caught this near the end. Great stuff, Danielle. Yeah, we've still got that to go, so don't worry. We'll take a look at diffusion filters shortly. That's our most recent release. Wonderful. I'll zoom back out. There you go. You can see that side by side, before and after. All right, so that's those two images edited with Camellia. That was Quest 46, released in April. Those beautiful springy colors, super, super nice. All right, so let's move on to the next two images, image 7 and 8. And these I'm going to be editing with the current Quest set. That's Quest 47 Frontier. That was released on the 1st of May and is available right now. So if you are a Quest subscriber already, obviously that will be the set that you can get your hands on for free this month. If you're not yet signed up to Quest and you are interested, if you sign up right now before the end of the month, you will be able to download Quest 47 Frontier for free as part of your membership. So if you like what you see in this portion of the edit, you can go ahead and sign up over at archipelagoquest.com, become a member, and you can download this set for free as part of your subscription. So let's go to Quest 47 Frontier. Again, another set developed by me. This one's all about deep grounding shadows and soft highlights. It's got quite a bold look to it. We have 3 preset variations, Frontier 1, 2, and 3. Let's just take a look at those in a moment. The white balance and the exposure I'm pretty happy with. I like this kind of cool look. Obviously it looks like we've got quite a cold scene, we've got gloves on, so I'm going to leave it as it is because I think it looks super beautiful. So let's just go through each of the presets. So Frontier 1. So Frontier 1 has this quite warm look to it. It's quite bold and dramatic, and it really pushes those warm tones. So you can see the reds enhance here, and then throughout the kind of neutral areas of the image just brings in this warm tone. The blues are sort of a bit more subdued as well, so you can see that sort of in the outfits of the subjects there. So that's Frontier 1. If we move on to Frontier 2, we have a little bit more of a cool look, so that's going to suit this image quite well because we've got that kind of cool look already. So you can see the blues are sort of a little bit more subdued but still enhanced, so they're not as desaturated as with Frontier 1, and we have more cool toning running through the neutral areas of the image. But you can see we get those nice grounding deep shadows and dark areas of the image. So again, this is Frontier 2. And then this set also includes a black and white, so we have Frontier 3, so it kind of covers all bases. We've got a warm preset, a cool preset, and a black and white there as well. Really nice punchy black and white, those deep blacks, deep shadows, and nice kind of grey tones throughout there. So I'm not going to go with black and white for this. I'm going to go with Frontier 2 because I think that's going to suit this image really well. Again, creative profile, that's set to 100 with Frontier. And if I bring this to the left and then to the right, you can see this affects the kind of contrast levels of the image. So you can see how it brings more of the contrast in there. So it deepens down those shadows, slightly brightens those highlights, gives more separation to the darker and the light areas of the image, but it also adds a little bit more saturation into the image as well. So just a little bit more color running through and a little bit more of that contrasty look. Really, really nice. So I'm probably gonna, let's go back to the default. I'm probably gonna increase this a bit because I like that kind of bold punchy look. So I'm going to go maybe about there, 138 or so. And then we have a few tools. So we got H-tone 1 and 2, and those affect the highlight tone within the image. So H-tone 1 adds a warmth specifically to the highlights of the image, and H-tone 2 adds a cool tone specifically to the highlights of the image. So it's just a nice way to shift it one way or the other. And I really like using these with the opposite preset, if you like. So as I mentioned, Frontier 1 is a warm preset, and I like to pair H-tone 2 with that, which has a cool highlight. And then with Frontier 2, which is the cool preset, I like to use H-tone 1, which has a little bit of warmth in the highlights. So you can see here, it retains the cool tones in the darker areas. So those blues are still very much present, but it's just bringing more warmth into the highlights of the image. You can also see how it shifts the dynamic of those highlights as well. So it kind of lifts those up, gives a little bit more of a kind of clean look to those highlights whilst bringing in that warmth. So I really like this. It kind of balances things out really nicely. I would maybe just bring the temperature down a tiny little bit. So now we've kind of got really cool tones in the darker areas and a little bit of warmth coming into the highlights. We're just lifting that up and adding a bit more separation. So super, super nice. And then the last tool we have here is called Background Crush. That's going to select the background of the image. It's going to darken it down, so it's going to bring the exposure down, but it also reduces the saturation in the background of the image as well, and the contrast. So it's going to bring things down to being a little bit more subdued, hence the name sort of Background Crush. It's going to just crush things down, bring down the saturation, reduce the contrast, bring the highlights down. It just makes everything a little bit sort of softer and more muted. So this is without, and this is with, and you can see how it does a really nice job of separating the subject then from the background. So again, you can apply that and increase or decrease the effect. You can go for something really moody like that, or you can go for something quite subtle. Let's go for somewhere in between, probably maybe about 90. So we can just provide a little bit more separation between those subjects in the background. And it just does a really, really nice job of bringing some mood into the image, but kind of keeping things natural looking. So let's do one final tweak with the creative profile. I might increase it just a little bit more, up to about 161, and I'll show you the before and after. So that's with Frontier 2. We've used H-tone 1 just to bring some warmth back into the highlight tone, and then we've used a little bit of Background Crush there to separate the subject from the background. I'll show you that side by side there as well. There is a healthy dose of grain included with this preset. So if I zoom in here, you can see we've got quite a lot of grain going on there. I really like the way that that looks with this kind of bold, contrasty look that the preset brings. But of course, in the effects panel here, you can dial that grain to your liking, or you can use a grain from a different set. If you have a particular grain tool from a different set that you like, you can just apply that to go for something different, but I like that default look. Again, before and after on the close-up, and zoom back out there as well. Love those cool tones on too. I love the H-tones in Frontier, amazing tools. Yeah, and actually it's a good point as well. With the tools within these Quest sets, they can be used with any other set. So of course they're designed to go hand in hand with the presets that are included with this particular set, but you can use these with any preset collection. Because they're using the masking panel, you can use H-tone, you can use Background Crush with any other preset. So it just kind of adds something else to your toolkit. It's not only going to work with Frontier, so play around with it. Good tip, we'll try it out. We're bringing the snow too, right? It's from Kate. All right, we've got to do it, haven't we? We've got to do it. So we've got a tool set, and it's kind of a standing joke on our live streams since we released this set that we use it on every single live stream. Doesn't matter what time of year it is, we've got to throw some snow on there. So you're going to find Quest Tools 5 Snowfall. And it's designed to emulate the look of falling snowflakes within your image, and it does it all in Lightroom. It's very, very clever. It was designed in the masking panel, so it just applies over the top of any edits that you do, and it gives this really realistic looking snow effect. So it will take a kind of a few seconds for it to apply to the image. So when I hover over it, it'll take a few seconds before it applies, and that's because it's made up of a bajillion different layers to get this effect, all carefully handcrafted, hand-drawn. But if I hover over that and give it a couple of seconds, you're going to see the effect appear on the image in a moment. It's going to be perfect for this because we have that nice snowy background. Look at that. It is incredible. I mean, we've got to use it, haven't we? Quest Tools 5 Snowfall. It's available in the Quest archive. And it's a fantastic tool set. If you're doing any shoots where it's snowy, or if you've got a scene that would benefit from having snow falling, if it was actually snowing at the time, sometimes what you can find is it doesn't really pick up the snowflakes on camera unless they're absolutely huge. So quite a lot of the time you might be a little bit disappointed with how the images look, even if it was snowing at the time. So with a tool like this, you can achieve that beautiful snowy look with one click right here in Lightroom. So that's Quest Tools 5 Snowfall. We've got to mention that on every single live stream. Again, you've got the preset amount slider. So once you've applied that tool, you can decrease or increase that snowy effect to your liking. So maybe go for a slight increase on this, about there, 177. There's also a couple of other tools included in that, one that adds some fog, some mist to the background, and another one that removes some of the snowflakes over the subject's face. So great versatile set for getting a beautiful snowy look to your images. And we've got to mention it on every live stream, why not? So there we go. So that's Frontier, which one to do? Frontier 2. Highlight Tone 1, Background Crush, and we've just chucked on Quest Tools 05 Snowfall for a nice little extra finishing touch there as well. All right, let's move on to the next image. This one here, so we've got a very different kind of scene, more of a deserty look to this. I'm going to go ahead and set the white balance. I'm going to add quite a bit more warmth to this, maybe about there. Bring a little bit more magenta in there as well. I think somewhere around there looks good to me. Exposure is looking good, so let's go ahead and audition the preset. So we have Frontier 1. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to use that on this one because we have a scene that benefits from that shift in warm tonality. But let's take a look at the other two as well. So Frontier 2, super, super nice. And Frontier 3 for that black and white. Really classy, I think, that black and white. Really, really beautiful. All right, so Frontier 1, I think it's got to be that on this one. Again, creative profile, increase, decrease, so you get that extra punch, extra contrast and bold look to the images. So I'm going to go for a little bit of an increase, maybe about there, 141. And for this, I might go against my rule, which is usually to use the opposite tonality. So because this is the warm preset, Frontier 1, I would probably usually go for H-Tone 2, which brings in that cool tone, but actually I'm going to lean into the warmth. I'm going to go for H-Tone 1 on this, so it adds even more warmth into the highlights. So I'm going to go for maybe something around about there, about 57. So it just lifts those highlights a little bit, adds more warmth into there. We kind of really lean into that warm look, which I think suits this image incredibly well. Now for this, I probably wouldn't do a background crush because I think we've got a good amount of separation between the subject and the background anyway. But let me just show you what that would look like if you did. So down at 0, up at 200. I'm not going to go for anything dramatic like that. I might go for just a little bit. So somewhere about here, 25 or so. So this is before and this is after, and I'll show you that side by side there as well. That's with Frontier 1, with H-Tone 1, and a tiny little bit of background crush there as well. Yes, the snow. I am so impressed about all these presets. The talent is amazing. Thank you very much, Danielle. I bet that would look good on a beach scene. Absolutely. The snow ad said, "You complete me." Love that, Danny. It almost could look like water droplets. Yeah. Daniel said, "Frontier is very versatile." Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that. I'm following along since this is the only preset I have so far. Yes. This is your first entry into the world of Archipelago Quest, and let me tell you, it's an exciting world to be in. Now, you might see, if you look over on the left-hand side here, Quest 48 LXCV. You might have seen some sneak peeks of that being shared in our Facebook group. That is the next Quest set to be released. So that's coming out on the 1st of June, which is just a few days away now. I'm not going to be showcasing that in this live stream, but that is the next Quest set to come out. And LXC, as a family of presets, we have a few different ones released over several years. The original LXC came out a long time ago. It's one of our most revered preset collections we've ever released, and since then we also released LXCN. We did LXCQ, which was Quest 12 up there, and another one being added to that family, LXCV, that's coming out on the 1st of June. So brand new presets with a sort of a more color accurate look, but still with that LXC kind of tonality that you come to love. So a really, really beautiful set. You're going to get excited. You're going to absolutely love that set. It comes out on the 1st of June. So you're going to have another one in your collection very, very soon, Brittany. Can't wait for LXCV. Eek. Danielle said, so great to see how you edit with these presets too. I love to get a peek behind the curtain and understand the workflows of fellow photographers. Thank you so much. All right, so let's have a quick look at those two polar opposite edits there. We have a cool edit with Frontier, and we had a warm edit with Frontier. And again, that set also comes with a black and white. And just as a reminder, like I said, that's this current month's set at the time of this live stream airing. So if you sign up to Quest right now, you can get Frontier for free as part of your Quest membership. And then in a few days' time, we'll be releasing LXCV. So you'll be able to get that as well. So great time to jump into Quest if you've been considering it. Archipelagoquest.com is where you can go to find out more about our fantastic preset subscription. All right, so we're getting towards the end of the stream. Thank you so much for kind of sticking around as we've gone through this. I've got 2 more images that I'll be editing, and we're showcasing the tool sets that we've released in the last few months. And then once I've done those 2, we'll be announcing a winner of someone in the live chat getting their hands on a free preset collection. So stick around for just a little bit longer and you could get your hands on a free preset collection. Emily said, go get Quest, people. Yes, thank you, Emily. All right, so got this image here. This one's from Danielle. Really, really beautiful image. So with this one, I'm going to edit with one of our other sets, one of our Archipelago sets, and then I'm going to showcase the Quest Tools 10 lens emulations. So this one came out a few months ago. This is one of our tool sets that have come out through Quest, and this is designed to emulate the characteristics of various different lenses. So you can find it down here in where the Quest tools are, and you can see that this is made up of several different types of lens emulation effects. So we'll get into that in a moment, but first of all, I'm going to edit this image with Archipelago Chroma. So Chroma is an Archipelago preset, so over at archipelagopresets.com, and it's not part of our Quest lineup. But Chroma is actually a limited release set, so it's going to be retiring very soon. It's currently on sale as it's retiring in the next few days. So if you like the look of Chroma, now's your chance to go and grab it because it will be retiring in a few days' time. As with all of our limited release sets, they will retire after a period of time. So yeah, go and check out Chroma if you like the look of this. So we've got 6 presets in Chroma. We've also got a dedicated tool set that comes with it as well. For this, I'm going to use Chroma 2, which is a nice warm preset. I've got the Chroma profile. I'm going to increase that just a little bit maybe. No, I'll leave it at the default actually. I think that looks good. And I'm liking that edit pretty much as a one click. So let's roll with that. And we'll come back down here to take a look at Quest Tools 10 lens emulations. So it's designed to emulate the look of a few different types of lenses. So you're going to see here we have modern lenses, vintage lenses, and then creative lenses. And each of the modern and the vintage lenses come in different focal lengths. So this again uses the lens blur functionality here in Lightroom, and it applies a masking layer there as well to create a particular effect. So when we take a look at the modern lenses, and I'll start with the 35mm, give that a second for it to render. It's going to blur the background of the image, but it's also going to apply characteristics typical of a modern lens. So it's going to be quite sharp looking, obviously very detailed, but with that nice blurred background. This particular one is a 35mm, and typically with a 35mm lens, you get a certain amount of blur. So this was actually shot with a 35mm lens. We can see up here at f1.8. So you can see we have got a blurred background, but there's not a lot of blur with 35mm typically. But then as we go through, we have modern lens 50mm. You're going to see more of that background blur appear. We then have 85mm, so it includes even more of that subject separation to background, and then modern lens 135 for that really dramatic look of a 135mm lens. Get that really compressed look with the blur in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and apply modern lens 85 just first of all, so we can take a look at that. And you can increase or decrease the effect if you wish using the preset amount slider. I'm going to leave that at the default amount. So this is the modern lens, and this is at 85mm. Now let's take a look at the vintage lens. So if you think about vintage lenses and their particular characteristics, you're often going to see a little bit more softness, less of that kind of sharpness that we see with modern lenses. You're also going to see less contrast. So it kind of goes a little bit flatter in the way that it looks. And the bokeh is different. So the outer focus areas is also different as well. You kind of see a little bit more of the kind of swirly background effect. So if I jump straight into vintage lens 50mm, you you're going to see quite a big transformation. So give that a second to render out. You're going to see much flatter in the contrast levels, a little bit softer throughout the image, and also the blur in the background has a little bit of that kind of swirly effect. So you can see certainly down where the pebbles are, that swirly look start to come in, and as obviously we increase the focal length, so we go to 85mm, that becomes more dramatic, and then 135mm, we get that really dramatic look. So it just emulates those characteristics of those lenses, so modern lens and vintage lens. And then we also have some creative lenses. So these creative lenses have multiple different kind of characteristic looks. So if we take a look at creative lens 1, I'm going to go ahead and apply that so we can see that there. And I'll show you without, and then all the way up at 200. So you can see it adds a little bit of warmth and it really diffuses the image, so it kind of softens everything up and we get this really nice blur to the background, but we also get a blur around the edges of the frame. So in this case, you can kind of see that the rock here and down the edges here that weren't blurred before start to get blurred. So it kind of has that more creative look to it. We have creative lens 2. Give that one a second to render out. This one is more like a tilt shift lens. So again, we've got that nice blurred background, but we can also see a blur that runs along the top of the frame. You can see it's blurring the hat and along the bottom of the frame. So that's blurring the subject there as well. And then we have creative lens 3. This is one of my favorites in the set. So this one, give this a second to render out. Again, I'll show you down at 0. And up at 200. So really dramatic blur, but you can also see how the contrast levels are affected. Just a real pop in the separation from the subject and the background. So again, I'm going to put this back to the default amount of 100. Super, super nice. This is before. This is without any edits at all. This is with Chroma 2. Creative profile set at the default amount, and then we've applied creative lens 3 to this. So those are just designed as like a little bit of a finishing touch to your image. So if you've done all the rest of your edits and you just want to add something else just to kind of enhance the image, bring out your subject, blur that background, and have one of those particular effects. So modern lens gives that very sort of like neutral look, whereas with vintage lens, you get those kind of extra kind of nostalgic characteristics. And then with creative lens, you've got something a little bit more sort of fun and unique. So I like creative lens 3 on this one. I'll probably just back it off a little bit, maybe about 70 or so. And I'll show you that as a side by side there. So you can just see the kind of blur that's introduced here, how it's kind of a little bit more smeared, and all that's happening down here in the lens blur. So you can see here, it's selecting a particular type of bokeh. It's setting the cat eye and the boost and the blur amount, but it's also adding in the layers here. So creative lens coating and creative lens character to achieve that particular look. I was all about the tilt shift on Instagram 10 years ago. Love that. Genius, says Danny. Wow, says Danielle. So that's Quest Tools 10 Lens Emulations. That's available to purchase in the Quest archive, as with many of the other sets that I've mentioned. We're going to roll on to the next image, this one here. And for this one, we're going to be using the new Quest Tools 11 Diffusion filters set. So this is a bonus Quest set that's an optional purchase if you are a subscriber. It's in addition to our regular Quest set. So like I said, Frontier is the current Quest set. That's the one you get for free this month. But we've also released this as an additional optional purchase for Quest subscribers. And it's currently 50% off. So if you are a Quest subscriber, you can snag this for 50% off the regular price. And it's only for a limited time, and then it will go to the regular price of the archive sets. So if you like the look of this, do go and grab this ASAP. So the first thing I'm going to do with this is set the white balance. I'm just going to sample an area from over here. I'm going to make sure the tint is looking good, temperature is looking good, and bring a little bit more exposure in. And with this, I'm going to use one of our core preset collections. So let's use Light and Truth. I'm going to use Light and Truth 3. Let's close that. I'm going to adjust the creative profile, and yeah, I think the default amount looks good. So Light and Truth 3, I think the only thing I would do with this is under lens correction, I'm just going to remove the purple fringing that I can see around here. Give that a click, and that's just going to clean that up nicely. So Light and Truth is one of our core preset collections. It is a kind of a true color, an accurate true color preset collection designed to kind of enhance your image naturally without shifting the tones and the colors within the image. So let's take a look at diffusion filters. So this set is designed to replicate the look of the most popular physical diffusion filters. So a diffusion filter is a piece of glass that screws onto the front of your lens, and it diffuses the light that enters into the lens, and it gives this kind of really soft, dreamy, atmospheric look to your images. So that's a physical lens that you can go out and buy and screw onto your lens. With this set, it's designed to replicate that look, so give a very similar look to those various different filters, but without the need for a physical filter. So you can do it in post-production in Lightroom without the need to shoot with that particular filter. So you can see here we have a few different options. So we have black mist, and you'll notice that they come in different strengths. So we have quarter, half, 1 and 2. So that's just to match the naming convention of the physical counterpart to this filter and some of the most popular strengths that are available out there. So black mist, that replicates the look of Tiffin Black Pro Mist filters. Then we have Sea Bloom, which is a replication of a Cinebloom filter. So you have 5%, 10% and 20%. We have Gold Diffusion, that comes in half, 1 and 2. Low contrast in quarter, half and 1, and digital diffusion in half, 1 and 2. So let's just take a look at each of those on this image. So let's start with a black mist filter. Now, the lowest strength in each of these is going to be quite subtle, and you'll start to see more of the effect as you go up to the higher strengths. And what you're going to see with the black mist is it adds that diffusion, so it softens things up, it blooms the highlights, so you get this kind of glowy look to the highlights. And it also, but with the black mist, it sort of keeps the shadows and the darker areas more natural. So it mainly affects the highlights in the image and the midtones, and less so shadows and darker areas. So you're going to see without and with the half. If I go up to 1, so you can get that kind of quite dramatic, and it goes all the way up to 2 for an even more dramatic look. And you can see where the light's coming in through the window there, it just starts to glow and diffuse and bloom. But it also does a really nice job of softening up skin. So you can use this to kind of give a little bit more of a flattering effect on your portraits. So it just softens up the texture in the skin and just gives a nice flattering effect for portraiture. So that's the black mist. Let's take a look at Sea Bloom. And if I go for Sea Bloom 10%, so the middle strength. So with a Sea Bloom filter, again, you get that diffusion, you get that kind of soft, glowy look to the highlights, but it also reduces contrast, and that adds a tiny little bit of warmth to the image there as well. So this is without, and this is with Sea Bloom 10%. So it affects more of the image than the black mist. You go all the way up to 20% for a really glowy look. Then we have Gold Diffusion. So as the name suggests, this one is going to diffuse things, it's going to soften things up, but it's also going to add a warmth to the image. So Gold Diffusion 1, Gold Diffusion 2. So you can see more warmth is being added. This is without, this is with Gold Diffusion 1. So we get that beautiful glowy look to those highlights, but more warmth pushed into the image there. Then we have low contrast. So as the name suggests, it just lowers the contrast of the image. So it adds some of that softening, some of that bloom to the highlights, but not quite as dramatic. It's mainly going to reduce the contrast of your image. So if you have a really contrasty scene and you're struggling to kind of get things balanced, this is really nice just to soften up the kind of contrast levels between the highlights and the shadows. So this is all the way up at 1. This is without, and this is with 1. So nice low contrast option there. And then we have digital diffusion, and this is the most subtle out of the filters in here. And this one's just really good for keeping everything looking modern, looking sort of clean and natural, but just softening up some of the texture within the image. So it doesn't sort of bloom the highlights and give that kind of glowy look. It doesn't reduce the contrast. It just softens up the details. So if I go into here, you're going to see there is still a little bit of glow happening, but not so much. It's mainly just softening up the edges of those details. So you often find with the amazing glass that we shoot with these days, the amazing high resolution sensors that we have, sometimes things can start to look a little bit too sharp, a little bit too clinical. And that's where something like a digital diffusion filter can just soften up the edges very, very subtly and just give you a little bit more of kind of a characteristic that you kind of get from older lenses. So without it kind of sacrificing the beautiful contrast levels, all that good stuff, you can just go for something that's a little bit softer. Again, really, really nice for portraits. So for this, I will probably use a black mist. I'm going to go for black mist 1 for quite a dramatic look. One click, apply the preset, and you get that look. And you'll notice that with the diffusion filter effects, the preset amount slider is grayed out. And that's simply because this is designed already with the different strengths built in. So it's designed to be a nice simple one-click solution without the need to adjust anything after, and you have those strengths built in to give you the different options straight from the beginning. So that's Black Pro Mist 1 is what that's emulating, and we've edited this one with Light and Truth. This is before and this is after, and I'll show you that side by side there, so you can just see that beautiful glow coming in through there. Obviously softens up the details on the subject there as well. If I go back out to 100, you can just see that difference there. Really, really nice. Just kind of adds a nice amount of kind of softness and atmosphere to the image without drastically changing things. Obviously, this is designed to apply over the top of any other edit. So you might use this as a final step in the process, but it can be combined with any other preset tool that you like. It just uses the masking layer, so you can apply this whenever you like. Let's have a quick look. It's all about the actual image. Does anyone know what millimeter or lens they used on this one? No, going back, if you use a physical filter, best of both worlds with these. Yeah, that's true. So Christopher points out, if you use a physical diffusion filter on the front of your lens, obviously you're getting the most authentic look of that particular filter, but whatever strength, whatever filter type you put on the front of your lens, there's no going back. That's locked into that image. Once you've taken the photo, that's the look you're going to get. Whereas it's quite nice with this because you have the option, the flexibility to sample different looks after you've taken the image. So whilst it's not going to be an exact replication of that particular filter, it's going to get you most of the way there. And the fact of the matter is you can do it here in post-production. You can have loads of different filters on hand without the need to purchase all of these different filters because they can be quite expensive. I own a couple of diffusion filters and I do love them, but they are very, very expensive for good quality ones. So having the option like this just gives a little bit more flexibility in your creativity when it comes to editing your images. Thank you for that. What we're saying, this helps me so much seeing the hows and whys. Thank you, Liam. No worries, Laurie. Thank you. These editing sessions are so much fun. That's from Anne. Thank you very much. Emily said I might have to grab this. Yeah, it's well worth it. I honestly think this is probably a set that everyone should have. If you've never used a diffusion filter before, this would be a good way to sort of see what they do and how they look. And if you have used diffusion filters and you like that look, you maybe want to explore more or have that flexibility of being able to dial it and change it after you've taken the image. It will be a great set for that. But really for portraiture, I love the way diffusion filters look. And like I say, these do a fantastic job of replicating that look. I hope you can make a vintage filter. Thanks for the suggestion, Podrick. I wonder if this diffusion filter would work well on studio portraits with harsh light. Yeah, it definitely would. It would work really well for that. So anywhere really where things just look a little too harsh, a little bit too kind of like too much clarity, this will do a great job to soften things up. So if you've got really harsh light or really harsh texture, this will soften those edges up, give that nice kind of glowy look. It kind of leans more filmic, but obviously because you can apply this with any preset, you can have whatever look you want, but with that slight softness, that slight atmospheric look to your image. Love that. Okay, sold. That's awesome. All right, so let's go back. We'll just take a look at these last two images together. So the one on the left here was edited using the Quest Tools 10 lens emulations. That one is designed to emulate the look of various different focal lengths, different depths of field, and different lens coatings and characters. And then we have the one on the right here, which is using Quest Tools 11 diffusion filters, designed to replicate the look of physical diffusion filters here in post-production. And if we go back and take a look at all of those images, that's a nice wrap up and review of what we've released through Quest over the last several months. So again, just as a recap, we have covered Quest 44 Aureus, Quest 45 Atelier, Quest 46 Camellia, Quest 47 Frontier, Quest Tools 10 lens emulations, Quest Tools 11 diffusion filters. So all those are available through Quest. Like I said, Frontier is the current Quest set. So if you are a subscriber, you can get that for free this month. And the others are available to purchase through Quest. And again, diffusion filters was just recently released. It's currently on discount. It's 50% off for a limited period of time for Quest members. So go and snag that if you are interested in getting hold of it. Amazing, love this tool. Thanks, Liam. Just added diffusion to my cart, new toy. Thank you, Danny. Thank you for taking the time. That's from Laurie. Thank you. So in a moment, we're going to announce a winner for a free preset collection in the chat. But I just want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in. It's been so nice to do another one of these after quite a long time. Great to have you on board, sticking with me throughout, chatting away. It's been really lovely. So yeah, we're going to announce a winner in the live chat there. But do let me know what you think of the live streams. If you want to have these more frequent, if you like doing a wrap up like this where we cover several sets in one go, let us know and we can use that feedback to shape how these happen in the future. So there we go. Lauren has announced our live chat winner is Brittany. You've won a preset of choice. So just reach out to us on the email that you can see in the live chat there. Big congratulations to you. You can choose which of the presets you get for free. So big congratulations. But thank you to everyone for tuning in. It's been a fantastic stream and I'll hope to see you in another one very, very soon.